And good morning. I'm Christine Deane, your DFW Networking Diva, and I am so excited today. We're going to chat with some executive coaches and like, what? What's that? What do they do? I don't even understand. Well, how do they even help us? Well, so if you've ever been curious about executive coaches, that's what we're diving into today. And I am so excited to have with us. We've got Steve and Caroline. Hi, yay! Hi. I am so excited. And so I know you both have experience and it's completely different, but totally unique. And I love that. And that's why I brought you two together because I want you to talk to us a little bit about, all right, first off, what is an executive coach? We hear life coaches, we're familiar with that concept, but what does an executive coach do? And I don't care who steals the to run away with it, but somebody grab it.
Caroline, please.
Absolutely. Thank you, Steve, very much. So, an executive coach is a coach that really works with professionals at that executive level, that leadership level, that helps them get over particular leadership hurdles, challenges, maybe particular stumbling blocks that they really want to be able to focus on to get to that next level. And even if it's not a stumbling block, it might just be that they see where they want to go and might have some confusion on how to get there. So an executive coach is a person who works with those particular professionals to help them get to that next level forward in their professional and leadership career. Steve, does that sound about right? Or what your take?
Well, okay, my take is a little bit simpler than that. I do a lot of marriage and life coaching as well as executive coaching.
Mhm.
So the difference that I put in it is executive coaching, you're wearing a dress shirt, life coaching, you're wearing a polo shirt.
I
I'm
love that.
kidding. I'm kidding.
I
No,
love that.
no, Caroline, you're spot on with it. You're
Yeah.
you're helping people get past some of those roadblocks, the speed bumps, the things that are keeping you stuck. And a lot of times it's just being able to see things that the executive doesn't see. Now,
Mhm.
I use that in my life and marriage coaching as well, but executives, it's just different. It's a little bit more unique because they have not only issues that they're dealing with themselves, but they may have a large team of people that they're working with as well. So marriage and life coaching, you're typically just talking one or two people. Executive coaching, generally teams of people and companies.
Steve, I may take that polo shirt, dress shirt analogy. And I'll give you credit for it, but I
It's
do
your
like that.
first
That's
time you have
wonderful.
to give me credit.
Yes.
Second time, my good friend says, and the third time, it's yours.
I love that.
I love that philosophy, but really that's what coaching's all about, right? It's bringing somebody in that can see something that you can't see.
Exactly.
Sometimes we are just too down in the weeds, right? We're working at it and we can't really see out of like, oh, right? And you point out sometimes you point out the obvious to them, right? And they're like, oh, yeah, I didn't catch that. It happens, right?
It does.
So when it comes to executive coaching, how does that even work? So you work with people one on one, I'm guessing.
Steve, I'll let you take this one first.
Well, it really depends. Yes, most of the time for an executive coaching scenario, it is one on one. Now, oftentimes the material that I share with an executive is going to be transferable to their support staff, to their other executives, uh, C levels, vice presidents, presidents, et cetera, that sort of thing. But generally, when you're going with the executive, they're the visionaries typically that you've got to get to and figure out what are the speed bumps, what are those roadblocks that they are having to overcome, that as the visionary their underlings don't necessarily have to deal in the weeds as the executive does.
Mhm. And it might be that the executive themselves realizes that they might have roadblocks, and they personally bring in a coach. It might also be that sometimes this is from a corporate standpoint, where if they're working with a business or within a corporation or within an academic environment,
Yep.
then that's where it's brought in as part of their own learning and development program.
Yes.
My background is in academia slash corporate. So that is where I typically tend to see those executive coaches. When a company brings in coaches saying, we have this group of leaders, we have this group of high potential people, or even we have a group that we want to just have a set of baseline for having leaders throughout our organization. They bring in the coaches and they pair them with learning and development programs to really be able to drive an existing culture around that sort of leadership, that sort of thought process that can make an individual and whole teams into, really high performing leaders and executives.
Oh, there's that. Caroline, you are spot on with that. One of the other challenges that you have in the corporate environment is sometimes you may just be looking to improve the overall atmosphere in the office. Sometimes you've got a toxic environment. And when you have that toxic environment, you got to figure out what the root cause is of that toxic environment. And that's where the outside perspective from a coach may come into play.
Mm-hmm.
I've had some scenarios where, easiest way to describe it is I had to teach people how to not be 14-year-olds. And stop the gossiping on the side, the coffee room or the lunchroom gossip and all of that junk that was causing the friction. Well, you are not going to believe what Caroline said last week about you, Christine. I'm on your side. Okay, so you don't have to worry about that. No, but then it's amazing how many times that you have to call people out and say, I hope you've got tough skin, because we're going to talk about some serious stuff right now that's causing impediments in your organization. So sometimes we have to be in your face.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's just, warm and fuzzies.
Mm-hmm. And I will say this to follow on with what Steve's saying. I think it's also very important to highlight executive coach is not HR. We are not there.
Exactly.
We are not there to hand out punishment. We are not there. Instead, what we are, as Steve mentioned, is there to get to that root cause, to understand what are those roadblocks, to help clear up those communication backlogs that can really keep a team from performing effectively. So yeah, so if executive coaches are brought in either in times of trouble, times of success, or times of neutral, when people, recognize that it is worth putting that value into their people, which this day and age, I think a lot of companies are realizing it's worth putting that time and effort into their people. So you can come into a corporate environment, a business environment as an executive coach, and you can work with an executive coach in that area. And what you can kind of expect in that is not necessarily HR, not even a trainer. There can be some training elements in it. Instead, it's really about focusing on making that team, making those individuals as high performing as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And Caroline, you just said something that a lot of people think, well, we've got training that's going on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's not coaching.
Nope.
That's maybe putting a system into place, whether it's sales training or administrative training, those sorts of things. That is not coaching. Coaching is oftentimes that person that's the outsider that's coming in that can look at the overall scenario, what's going on, and where are the problems or the challenges. Or it goes to another level where you've got a new program you're getting ready to implement. We got to make sure everybody is on board with this new process. We need a coach to come in and make sure all of those different pieces and scenarios are falling into place. And that's one of the things, I love HR, understand, okay? But sometimes HR has the feeling that they are the coaches. No, they're not the coaches. They're HR. And they don't want to. I'll give you a real quick scenario, very quick. So my wife used to be an executive assistant for a large sales organization, and she knew a friend of mine, a friend of hers now, that he's a sales trainer, and the guy is a great motivational speaker. Used to work with the Ziegler organization. I mean, just he taught training all the time. Well, she managed to get him to come into one of their kickoff meetings. The HR person was furious because she wasn't the person that set everything up. It's like, this is a sales thing. You don't do sales, you do HR. You don't do sales. This guy is a master at sales. So, and oh man, there was like, everybody said, oh, this guy was fantastic, except for the HR person.
Yeah. And that's exactly right. And that's something that I think, when from a learning and development standpoint, we always find it so important. The most effective development programs, especially when it comes around teaching like a new skill, leadership skill, it can even be like sales skills, but it's to pair that training with a coaching program, a
Yes.
group coaching, individual, whatever it is, because training is a different animal. Consulting is a different animal. All of these other things are different animals, and people, it's one of those things. And uh, this, I might get on a little bit of a soapbox here, so please yank me down if I need to be. But it's one of those things that, as coaching is becoming more and more prevalent in society, that term gets a little bit muddled, right? When you think of a coach, in my case, you might think of Brian Kelly, the LSU football coach, go Tigers. But such, but that's an element of it. But a coach itself is someone who can come in, as we mentioned before, who kind of helps people get those hurdles. And to reach Steve's point, gives that outside kind of perspective. It's that third party. I'm coming in with no preconceived notions, no level of who is right and who is wrong. It is an open assessment kind of, and able to bring some of those best practices, those knowledge, and be able to help that person or that group get to where they need to be. When it comes to training has that specific goal of, hey, this is how it's going to be done. I did also used to work in the consulting environment. When I was brought in as a consultant, it was me doing that. And hey, this is how it should be done, right?
Yep.
So there are all of these different elements that really each have their own individual part. Everything comes together in its own unique way, when it's needed, how it's needed. But coaching, it should be, I always like to highlight coaching is a separate element than things like mentoring,
Yes.
training, consulting, all of those things. Now, granted, there can be kind of blurred lines, so, little crossroads sometimes,
Absolutely.
that happens.
Yeah.
But I always like to be very clear that they all play different but important roles.
All right. So what I'm hearing is coaching is this is how it could be done. How do you think it could be done? Let's look at possibilities. And consulting is this is how you should do it. And HR and the training side is this is how we are doing it. Did I kind of get that close?
Absolutely. The HR,
Yeah.
the training, and the coaching side. The coaching side is, is kind of like, so you tell me, working with you, you tell me, this is the information. How are you hearing it? How are you interpreting it? Where are your challenges coming? So the important thing about the coach is that they are a partner. They're not a guide. They're not a pusher. They're not a puller. They're a partner.
Yeah.
And that is the most important thing about coaching, I think.
Caroline, you started it. So you brought up football, okay?
Yes.
So when I'm working with either executives or couples, a lot of times I'll use the scenario or the analogy of a football team.
Mm-hmm.
And there are basically four components, really five components on a football field at any point in time. You've got the offense, you've got the defense, you've got special teams. On the sideline, you have all of the coaches, and then you've got the fans, okay? And of course, you got to throw in the media there too, but they're irrelevant in most cases. Anyway, but as a coach, if I see my halfbacks getting tackled and fumbling the ball every other time they carry the ball, they're obviously doing something wrong. Now, as a coach, I could pull that halfback over on the sideline and say, you know, Joe, when you carry the ball, sometimes you're just not holding it properly, and sometimes you fumble the ball. So maybe you should think about, well, I could do that, or I could get in their face and say, you're messing up. You need to change the way you're holding the ball. I see something, I identify, and then I give them corrective action that they can take. And as a result of that, that's where not only the consulting side of it comes in, but you've also got the identifier and implementation part of it. And that's where the coach really comes in to help you implement the things that the consultant may see.
Yeah. It's the different hats. You go
Oh,
out there
totally.
and you kind of put on your little hat every now and then.
Yeah. Caroline, many years ago, I had been in the copier business for about 12 years, 10, 12 years, something like that. And the company I was working for, I was managing one of their offices. Company I was working for, the owners of the company, well, we'll just say that they knew a lot less than they said that they did.
Mhm.
Anyway,
It happens.
so they hired a coach or a consultant to come in, and I'm sitting there. I've never met this guy before. He comes in, he's sitting in my office, and he starts doing his dog and pony thing. And I said, before you start, I said, I don't want you to take offense at this because this is not directed at you personally, but you offend me. And he looked at me, what are you talking about? I said, well, I've been in this world now for 10 years and I know what to do and what not to do. How much time do you have coaching in this world? He says, well, I don't have any experience. I said, okay, I've been trying for the past 2 years to get the owners of the company to do these different things. And I gave him a file folder about an inch thick of my proposals to the owners, and they disregarded every one of them. And he says, "Man, can I look at?" Yeah, so he's looking through. Man, this is good stuff. I said, "Yeah, if they just did 10% of the things that I'm suggesting, you wouldn't be here right now." And he says, "Wow, can I get a copy of this?" I said, "It's yours." Now that's where a consultant was brought in because senior management didn't listen to the coaches that were in there giving advice and guidance. So I was just a manager, lowly manager at that point in time, but I was really acting like a coach.
Yeah. And that's the thing. You can't have, I always, you can put the bucket of water right underneath the horse.
Yep,
Can't make it
exactly.
drink, right?
Exactly.
Right. And so that is one of the challenges. And that was one of my challenges. I was in the, as I mentioned, I was in the consulting space, and that was always one of the challenges I had in
Yeah.
regards to being a consultant is it's ultimately up to the executive to make the decision.
Yeah.
And you can tell me, how you feel about this, but in one of the things I actually enjoy most about coaching is that ultimately it's not my decision.
Yep.
It is I am
Very
completely
true.
untied from the choices and the results that
Yes.
the client makes.
Yes.
So as a consultant, I feel like I have a little bit more stake in the game because I've been paid to give my opinion. As a
Yeah.
coach, I free myself from that tether of what decisions they make. Obviously, I want my clients to have the most success as possible.
Oh,
I
exactly.
want to see them
Exactly.
succeed.
Yeah.
But again, if you put the water in front of them and they don't choose to drink, that's kind of their
Y-
choice.
one of the analogies that I use, and it goes right along with what you're saying there,
Mhm.
and you've probably heard this story before. You maybe even told it. There are five bullfrogs sitting on lily pads. Three of them decide that they're going to jump off the lily pads. In other words, they hire a coach or a consultant. So three of them decide through the advice of their coach or their consultant, they decide to jump off. How many frogs are left on the lily pads? Well, everybody thinks, well, it's only two, Steve. That's a pretty simple math thing. You should have learned that in kindergarten. No, because you didn't listen to the words that I said. They decided, yeah, Caroline, we are going to implement, and,
Mhm.
come the first Tuesday of October, no, November, first, no, wait a second. No, we're gonna have to put it off until January. But
Yeah.
we are going to do this. We have decided we are going to do this, but they haven't implemented. So it's all five. All five
Exactly.
of them are still in lily pads because they just decided they didn't take action.
Mhm. Exactly. It's that action piece. And that as a coach, is again the importance of a coach itself as well is to help again, I want the best for my clients. I want them to
Absolutely.
succeed beyond all their wildest dreams. However, the action is up to them.
Yeah.
Right? It's up to them to jump into that pond, to make that decision and jump on. And I think that is also, for those who are interested in executive coaches and professional coaches, that is also something that I think is very key is when you're finding a coach and you're finding someone that works with, it's someone who is there to walk beside you
Yes.
to make you comfortable to act.
Yes.
I think that is such a key
Absolutely.
element of a good executive coach is that they make you comfortable with your decision to act so you can act.
Well,
Because yeah.
yeah. I mean, they've got to feel comfortable with you as the coach, but they also have to trust you.
Yes. Yes,
And if
100%.
they
Mhm.
don't trust you, then forget it. I mean, you're just, winking in the dark.
It is,
It's
yeah.
totally
Mhm.
irrelevant.
Yeah, that trust and that comfort, I think, go hand in hand
Yeah.
because, yeah, if you trust someone, you're comfortable with them and vice versa. So I think you're 100% correct. And I think that's something. And I think it might be worth breaking down into in regards to how someone can select a coach. What makes a good coach? I know what I think makes a good coach. What did you particularly think makes a good coach?
Well, I did. Christine and I were joking around about this earlier. I don't remember if you were in the conversation or not, but yeah, I did an online course.
Hmm. Yeah,
I took an online course, so I'm a coach.
that
No,
doesn't. No, no, that doesn't.
no,
I was waiting for you to finish. I was like, and because
no.
I knew.
That's
I
it.
was like, okay.
That's what you don't look for.
Yep.
And I know you've got some incredible credentials. I've been doing this now for almost 30 years.
Hmm.
And I started my undergraduate degrees in psychology. I started really gleaning information and truths about different types of coaching back in the late 80s. And I started implementing it. I became a coach kind of by accident. I found something that I liked and I started sharing that with somebody else. I learned this from a book, from a course that I took, or from a program that I went through, a seminar, conference, and I started teaching that to other people. And I taught more, and then I taught more, and then I taught more, and then I took another course and another program and another continuing ed, and run another book and so forth. And all of a sudden, one day, it's like, oh my gosh, I've been doing this for 10, 15 years, and you develop that mindset of wanting to help somebody and having some answers that they may not have had themselves beforehand, or they don't know where to go to get the answers. So tell me, what does it take for you, or what did it take for you to become a coach?
So I think for coaches, I think we all come with a that innate need to help people, like you said.
Absolutely.
I think
Yeah.
that's why my background. I'm an Air Force veteran,
Oh, thank you for your
which
service.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Which I think was the beginning of my. I'm going to help the world, and then you have to refine it from there, right?
Yep, exactly.
Absolutely. So I think that builds and that develops. Now people want to help each other, and they can go into nonprofits, they can go into medical fields, they can go into many different ways. I think what
Absolutely.
ultimately makes a coach, and some of the things, like particularly for me, that I tend to focus on, are those things um, that are, again, allow you to be a good partner, a
Yeah.
good trusted partner.
Right.
It's the non-judgmental approach.
Mhm.
It is the effective questioning. It is the challenging questions and
Yeah.
thoughts, right? Because it's not, people say, oh, it's just rah 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 cheerleading. Cheerleading's a part of it, right? Sometimes you need someone who is just in your corner. That's what you need. But it is also a lot of that challenge. It's that honest assessment of feedback. Now, if someone wants to help, they can always also go into the mental health route, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, I think coaching is a part of the larger picture of mental health, but it was told to me very early on, and I 100% believe this. Coaching is a want, not a need. Coaching is not
Yeah.
about someone who needs to fix things in their
Mhm.
lives.
Yeah.
Now, yes, things might not be going the way they want, but I'm talking like, oof, there are some deep-seated things going on here that might happen to require the support of a more licensed, mental health professional,
Right.
right? A little more therapy, maybe.
Right.
A coach instead is someone. The things that aren't working are things that you can own. You as the client can own and move forward on, and that to me is the coach, is something that makes a good coach, and that's kind of what I particularly try to make sure
Yeah.
I'm practicing, is that I'm giving you that thought, that safe space
Yeah.
to come and work through what those hangups are, asking those pertinent questions, challenging those kind of maybe misheld beliefs, um, things again that are keeping you from going forward. It's not necessarily about fixing the past. The past may come up because it might be relevant, but it's about going forward in your life.
Yeah.
And I think a good coach is someone who can go forward with you in your life. Now, you mentioned all the background, the 80s. Congratulations. I mean, you were there from the beginning, so that is amazing. I am a relatively, newcomer to the professional side of coaching, so I did go the route of a certified coach training
Hmm.
program through the International Coaching Federation.
Yeah, good
I am
organization.
currently, yep, I'm currently working on my ACC.
Okay.
I also happen to have a strong academic background. I have a lot of belief in systems.
Right. No, I understand.
Yep. And so that's another element. There's the skill sets of the coach, and then there's the training and the credentialing of a coach. I know there's a lot of debate around that. I
Yeah,
personally happen to just believe in the systematic approach that comes around credentialing programs. So
yeah,
that's another element I think makes a good coach,
absolutely.
though I know that's up for debate.
Well, and the interesting thing, I like the fact that you like systems. I like
Mhm.
systems also.
Yeah.
I like going into an environment where I'm not going to say that I'm in control of the environment, but I know where I want to steer that ship.
Mhm. Mhm.
And if I've got a system that's in place, one of the systems back in 81, 82, somewhere in that neighborhood, I heard Zig Ziglar speak for the first time. And first time I heard him speak,
Mhm.
and I just fell in love with the man. I thought he was an absolute genius, and so I started buying his books, his tapes. An opportunity to see him in person many times. Actually, went to the same church that he went to a Sunday school class on a regular basis. Actually, had the honor of singing in his class on numerous occasions. So it was up close and personal. Now I'm going to throw a little thing out there. Um, his son, the proud son of Zig Ziglar, Tom Ziglar, and I are personal friends. So I don't get to engage with Tom as much as I'd like, but
Mhm.
so he puts systems in place, and I'm one of their licensed trainers. So that was part of my training that I went through. One of the things also that I do is work with people on communication skills
Mhm.
in specifically in the area of personality temperaments, specifically DISC.
Mhm.
And so I'm a certified trainer for DISC, and
Me
I've been doing
too.
that. eh, Been doing it for 30 years. That's how I actually got started with the coaching side of things,
I'm a
learning
strong
DISC.
C.
Well,
I'm,
yeah.
I say I say I'm a C. I'm a center. I say strong C, but I'm a center C. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, C with a lot of S. And when I do training programs, and it's always fun. I can tell you're the same way that I am. I'm out there, I'm vibrant, and have a lot of fun. And I ask people at the end of the course, said, "Okay, what am I? You know that you're a D, you're an I, you're a C, whatever. What do you think I am?" And everybody always comes out and they say, "Obviously, you're a high I." I said, "No, none."
Yeah.
Well, then you've got to be a D. You're extroverted and so forth. No, I've learned how to become an extrovert.
Hmm.
Okay. But, when COVID hit, okay, no big deal. I've got my computer. I'm coaching coast to coast. Doesn't make any difference to me. I'm in my comfort zone.
Hmm.
So, so now you said something I'm going to challenge you on, and
Please.
that is you said you want the client to feel like they are in a safe space.
Hmm.
No offense. I could care less if they think they're in a safe space. I don't want them to be in a safe space. I want them to feel challenged in everything. And sometimes when you're in that safe space, you don't take action because you're getting out of your comfort zone. And when you're out of your comfort zone, that's where you grow. You don't grow in the comfort zone.
So let me clarify then in
Okay.
regards to the for safe space.
Okay.
Because in a safe space, a client feels comfortable to be honest with me. They feel the space they have to be honest with themselves. So when the question comes up along the lines of, what is holding them back or something like
Mhm.
that, if they don't feel like a safe space, they may go with an expected answer. They may go with a short answer, a
True.
not really well thought out answer. So when I say safe space, it doesn't mean that you're not going to be challenged. In fact, a
Okay.
safe space, I think, makes it even easier to challenge because they know that when I am asking a challenging question, it's not because I'm judging them or they gave me a wrong answer.
I understand.
It's because I hear what they're saying. So let's explore that further.
Yeah.
And
I,
they feel comfortable with continuing on that conversation.
yeah. I think I would go a step further and say respected space.
Sure. Okay.
Because if they respect me and they know and they feel comfortable with
Mhm.
me, But if they feel comfortable with me that I'm not going to do something that's detrimental to them, that I'm doing something to push them so that they can get out of their comfort zone so that they can start to grow. If they
Mhm.
respect me, then great. If they feel, well, Steve's not going to,
Mhm.
no. Uh,
It's yeah, and it might be a terminology. Safe space is kind of a buzzword. I get yes, that's I'll admit to that. It's a buzzword. So maybe respected space.
yeah.
Though it is also very important in my mind that it doesn't devolve into a parental relationship. Because
Oh, yeah,
when
absolutely.
you are in a relationship where someone is the parent, and you are, yes,
Absolutely.
I did that wrong, I will do better, I promise. That's not what I personally want, because that's not going to get anyone forward. So,
Yeah.
respect, I will say comfortable space, I will say honest space,
Honest
so
works.
yeah,
Honest
so
works. Yeah.
mhm,
Yeah. Oh. Well,
yeah.
Christine can.
And
can
I
so
popped in. I couldn't help it. I was
yeah.
letting you guys go, but you were having too much fun without me. Yes, the coaching space. I hear you both, because I understand the whole idea of you want the comfort space, the safe space of you want them to open and share. At the same time, you have to have that trust. And Steve's idea, but you got to push them, right?
mhm, yeah,
Sometimes they need that little kick in the pants to get them moving.
mhm. You really
Not that
do.
we know anybody that's done that before.
And this goes back, and again, to mention briefly to like some of the systems around there. I there's a coaching program right here in Dallas. UT Dallas has a wonderful executive and professional coaching program that's based around a framework developed by Dr. Hicks, the director.
Okay.
And it has a very good framework about the fact that it's not just about creating that comfortable space, but it's also things along the lines of, supporting thought, supporting action,
Absolutely.
challenging thought,
Yeah.
challenging action.
Yeah.
There are all those elements to it. So the coaching space is not a rumpus room with bean bags, right? Is a rumpus room even a thing? I might have to go to Steve. But
Downtown.
yes, that coaching space is in fact a space that is about growth.
Yeah.
And to me personally, growth happens when you are comfortable within the environment you're in.
I
Okay. All right. Let me
okay,
clarify. I heard it the
exactly.
moment I said it. I heard it. I heard it. I heard it. No, it doesn't. No, growth doesn't happen when you're comfortable. But that thought, if you are working with a coach who makes you uneasy, who makes you, oh goodness, now I'm getting lost in my words. What I am trying to say is, as a coach, you need to be able to be honest with your
Yes.
coach.
Yeah.
That is it. An
Well,
honest
same
space.
page. Same page. But I will tell you from history, nobody grows unless they are uncomfortable.
Absolutely. No, that is true. Yes,
So
100%.
and I'm not going to get political, but I'm going to get political. I think one of the biggest problems that we're having today is people don't want to be uncomfortable.
Mm,
Stop being a snowflake. I don't care where you are in your world, okay? Stop being a snowflake, okay? I'm sorry, but what you're doing is stupid. Don't keep doing that, okay? And there are times that I am that blunt with a client. If okay, so I'm going to steal something from Albert Einstein. Yeah, pretty smart dude, okay? You cannot fix a problem that you have using the same mindset or the same thought process that you used to create the problem. So you have to get outside intervention or a new set of eyes in order to fix the problem that you oftentimes created. And that's where the coach comes in.
Yeah, I think what it comes down, especially in the coaching environment, is honesty and respect.
Yeah,
I think that right
absolutely.
there is
Yeah,
for all my mentions of beanbag chairs,
yeah,
whatever. It comes down to honesty and respect,
yeah,
in my opinion, because
yeah,
I think especially these days, as coaching becomes more of a mainstream profession. It becomes a mainstream option within professional spaces. I think what people are really looking for and what they really need is kind of to the your point where people are maybe afraid to call that out. Maybe it's not that. Maybe it's they want to call out. They want to highlight. They just don't know how.
Yeah,
They need
exactly.
they
Yes.
don't know exactly, they need time to get their thoughts together,
Right.
which, as we talked about DISC earlier, as a C, I love the fact that someone takes the time to get their thoughts together, right? So yes, as a coaching, that's another element I think of executive and professional coaching, that is really helpful. It gives the client a place to think through what they actually want to say, so
Yep.
they can say it effectively,
Exactly.
right, and
Exactly.
honestly.
It-
Because I think you're right. A lot of it comes down to considering the way you think. Think
yep.
about how you're thinking,
Yep.
right? How are you thinking these days? And a lot of times, especially in a crisis, we've been through a global crisis for the past few years,
Yep.
and everyone's brain has, for the most part, been in survival mode,
Oh,
especially in the
totally.
corporate space.
Totally. Yeah.
It's ongoing, and you need to create time to sometimes not just react, but to stop and think.
Yeah.
And how are you
Exactly.
going to do that? Who are you going to go to? And it's wonderful if you have a trusted friend, a trusted advisor, a trusted colleague. But even those people, even if they're trusted and they want the best for you and your company, they come with their own preconceived notions, whereas
Well,
that coach doesn't. So,
yeah, preconceived notions, but they have an agenda also.
exactly. Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
And if their agenda is to get above you, are they necessarily going to give you the concrete, solid advice and counsel and direction?
Mhm.
Well, if I say that, that'll make them better than me. So I'm not going to tell them that. Or all of a sudden, you get that gossip thing that goes on. I, Caroline, I got to share one real quick story
Yeah.
with you. I had a client. This is about respect. I had a client that I was working with, an executive, and we were working on a particular project, and it was month after month after month, and we finally got to the point where everything pretty much was in place. And about 3 months after, they said something that was just like, "Oh, that hurt when you said that." I didn't say anything about it. Okay, I just let it pass. Okay, and about 10 or 15 minutes later, they said it again. I'm like, oh, I can't let that one pass two times in the same conversation. So
Mhm.
all I did was I just cleared my throat. And they said, "You heard that, didn't you?" I said, "Yeah." And then they said, "You probably heard the first one too, didn't you?" I said, "Yeah, I heard it." And then this is the best part. They said, "Steve, you should really be thankful that I respect you." I said, "Well, I appreciate that, but why do you say that?" And they said, "Well, because if I didn't, I'd flip you the bird." And I said, "Well, you're paying me enough. Go ahead, flip me a double bird. I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm here to help you get
Mhm.
past the stuff that's holding you back." And they
Right.
said, "Yeah, you're right. Thank you."
Mhm. Yeah.
And so that's what sometimes the people need, not from a counselor or not from a consultant. They need that from a coach that's not going to take the junk, but
Mhm.
that's going to observe, that's going to spot those things that are causing problems within you, within your organization, and then help you implement those things and actually take, the jump off the lily pads.
Yes, exactly. And you bring up that good point of why they need someone else, because I remember the very first time I heard about coaching. It was over a decade ago, and a friend of mine was had a life coach. And it's
Mhm.
like, oh goodness, at that point I was like brushing it off. I said, why not just a friend or something like that? Of course, now I realize how kind of silly that sounds, because you're right. It's that someone who can brush that off. If someone were to say that to you as a friend, it could have lasting damage. If it
Mhm.
was a family member, there goes all the holidays for the next 10 to 20 years,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
So it's one of those things that a coach, a lot of times, is that someone to respect and be honest with, because that they are here to help you. Now, of
Yeah.
course, it does come back to that respect.
Yes.
You have
Yes.
to, we are still trained professionals.
Yeah.
So that is one thing. However, And that is that different relationship between a friend, between a family member, between a mentor, even a boss, a colleague.
Yes.
All of those people come with, all of them play a very important part, much like the roles of
Yep.
HR and training and consulting. All of those play a different part. A coach, an executive and professional coach, brings a unique person with a unique skill set
Yep.
into a unique situation.
And
I
the one thing we've been dancing around the issue is confidentiality. You're not
Yes.
going to get that at the water cooler. You're not going
Yes.
to get that. I mean, you should get that at HR, but you're
Mhm.
not going to get that from a friend, a family member. You need the confidentiality so that when you're away from that coach, you know that they're not going to go and blabber to other people and cause problems within the organization or out in public. So, Christine,
Exactly.
I'm sorry,
I was
I
going to
just
say
jumped
that
all over you.
unsolicited advice is rarely appreciated.
Mhm.
So unless it's the coach and you're paying them to give you that advice, you may not want to hear it from those other people.
So, Chrissy, you mentioned exactly no, but you brought up a very good point. Something that you don't think about a lot. Unsolicited advice is, unsolicited. No one's really going to pay much attention to it.
Yeah.
That's also the other thing. And people are like, oh, well, why am I paying for a coach? Why am I paying so much for a coach? To be perfectly honest, when you are paying for something, you have more buy-in.
Yeah,
You are
totally.
you are you are willing to you know what? I am paying for this. I'm going to get my money's worth,
Yep.
right? So
Yep.
so that sometimes is some of the pushback is why am I paying for a coach? Well, if you're not, then it's just advice.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's called skin in the game.
Exactly.
If you don't have skin in the game, I mean, I used to volunteer with an organization. It's more of a life coaching type thing, but volunteered with them for about 6 years, and they could have done it for free.
Mhm.
And they had some big money backers and so forth. They could have done it for free, but we didn't. And we told people this is hundreds of dollars that they would invest. You've got to put something in 25, 50,
Mhm.
$100, whatever, something, because if you don't, then it's just free advice.
Mhm.
And no, you've got to have skin in the game. And
Ex-
that's where the coaches really come in. And if you're not, well, I'm just going to leave it at that.
Yes. And from the flip side, coaches put in training. Coaches put in practice.
Yes.
The quality coaches are out there doing continuation learning.
Yeah.
We are continuing to hone our skills much like any other profession.
Oh,
And so
absolutely.
so it is both sides because as a coach, it is also a business, right? It is one of those things that people sometimes forget. They're like, well, you're giving advice. No, not really. Again, it's not water cooler, and it is
Yeah.
definitely not what your mom's telling you at the
Yeah.
at the
Exactly.
dinner table.
Exactly.
So yes. So when the question comes up around why am I paying for a coach? Why are you paying for a coach? Why should we pay for a coach?
Yeah.
It's exactly right. It gives you one, it gives it skin in the game, and two, it's because you are investing in a trained professional who
Yeah.
is making a career of this. So
Yeah, exactly. And Caroline, you and I came at things from two different perspectives
mhm,
or from different directions.
mhm,
A lot of mine, I mean, the books on the shelf and the seminars and the conferences and so forth. Yours is more from an academic perspective, and they're both valuable tools.
mhm.
Uh, so I mean, there's not one that's better than the other. It's just different.
Absolutely. Mhm,
And then because both of us have so much experience in that arena, then I'm not only taking things from all the books and conferences and
mhm,
education that I've got, but it's called life experience.
mhm,
And I may have had another client 6 years ago that, oh yeah, they're just like this couple or this individual that I'm working with right now. So I can glean information from previous experience and from other coaches as well. I mean, I've got a group of coaches that I talk to on a semi-regular basis. When I hit a stumbling block, okay, what am I missing here? And I
mhm.
have my coaches that I talk to. And oh, well, here's what you're missing. Oh, yep, duh,
Yep.
let fly. So that sort of thing.
Exactly, and I have my own mentor coach that I regularly connect with, and it's one of those things I always like to say, "This is my wheelhouse." When,
Oh yeah,
Christine and I were talking about this the other day, when I coach, things are clicking because
oh yeah,
this is the right path. This is my
yes,
right skills. This is me aligning
yes,
my skill sets with, that Venn diagram of, needs and wants and skills and
yeah,
all of that. So I think about this stuff. I train, I do, because it is the right thing
Yep.
for me to be doing. It is the right path. And so you don't have to.
Yep.
I could be studying how to be a dentist, but I'm not.
Down in the mouth all the
Right?
time.
So I'm, that's what people, if that's their profession and that's clicking for them and that's right for them, then that's what they should be doing. And that's why I'm going to be paying them for it, right? I expect them to
Exactly.
train and keep up and etc. Same thing goes with the coaching profession. The
Yeah.
people who are doing it, especially the people who are doing it well, are doing it because this is the right alignment for them, and
Right.
it is bringing that right alignment, that right skill set, that training, that effort,
Yeah.
that effort
Exactly.
to you as a client.
Exactly. And for me, I'm going to take a little bit farther in that. I do it because of the aha moments that I get with
Mhm,
clients. I love it
mhm,
when we're sitting there, we're talking, we're going through some different options and different challenges and we're trying to overcome something, and all of a sudden that person says, "Oh, that makes all the sense in the world."
mhm,
So, and I think for me, it really started to click back in the late 80s, early 90s when I first started teaching disc. And I'd be talking to a husband and wife, for instance, and say, you do realize why you guys are having conflict. And we're having conflict because he's a high D, she's a high S, and
mm,
you've got conflict. Naturally, you've got conflict. And I'd have to instruct him what he needed to do to take care of her, and I need to instruct her to step up and don't be a wallflower. You've got to do something. And so when I started seeing the light bulbs come on with people, it's like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense. So it's about
mhm.
getting answers for people.
So let me real quick, for people who are listening who might not be familiar with this, just know that D and S are on the opposite sides of the spectrum. So when he's talking about a
Thank
D and
you.
an S, I'm like, oh my goodness, you got some work there.
Yeah. Well, and so I'm a high C. My wife is a high I, and
Mm,
my wife has the ability. She can carry
again,
on
different types.
five conversations in one sentence. Not so much with me. One at a time, just one at a time. And sometimes I have to time out, sweetheart. Okay, I know we're gonna have fun, but we got to get some detail taken care of. Now she's also very detailed when she needs to be, but she wants to have fun. So anyway, now we just covered all four of the personality temperaments. So
Yes, we did.
anyway,
We did.
So
So
if
again,
you're
for those,
interested
it's
in
it's
finding out,
DISC. So they're different opposite spectrums. So
yes.
so if you're interested in personality assessments, obviously either one of these people are great to reach out to on that. I was thinking maybe we take a moment and we let you guys talk a little bit about your niche, your specialty, who you like to work with, and what you're looking for. So I'm going to focus on one then the other. This way everybody gets a chance to talk a little bit, so we know, if they're looking for an executive coach and they're like, hey, this sounds really interesting, right? Kind of get a better feel for your personal type, because we can have, it's kind of like you go into the grocery store and there's a bunch of bread on the aisles, right? They're all there, but you got to find the one that's best for you, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So
mhm.
let's let them find out a little bit more about you yourself. So who wants to go first?
Caroline does.
All
Thank you,
right,
Steve.
Caroline, we're giving you
Thank you,
solo
Steve.
layout. Here you go.
Yeah, absolutely. So my particular niche, the people I support most are women in career transitions. So specifically, that is women veterans or women separating from the active duty military or reserve and guard, because that actually is my background as well. And I recognize a lot of those struggles that come around not just career transitions, but also identity transitions. Bringing those skill sets, bringing those leadership skills that you have into the civilian workforce, and being able to becoming your next self, really, because that is a lot of the struggle that I personally had, and I have seen other people have, other women have, as they transition out. Is because you are now taking who you were into that next phase. So it's women like military veteran women. It's also moms who might be exiting the career force to stay at home for whatever reason, or part time, who are now struggling with that identity, and they want to keep themselves professionally viable, and they just really don't know how, and they don't know exactly where they want to go forward, or as they're coming out of being stay at home into back into the workforce. So career transitions for those women, as well as those who might be in their second wave careers, as I like to call it. those are the women who have gone through who have gone through that first career because that is what they were told, or that's what they thought they were expected to do. That's what they were, they went to college for because that was what they were told. And now they've had a moment, they've had some successes or not, and they're taking a breath and they're thinking, is this really what I want to do? Why am I on this path this first way? So my niche is for those women who are looking for that personal and professional development to bring it to that next level, to bring themselves to that next level of their life, their career, their success, to be able to work over those hurdles and those mental blocks, to be able to give them an organized thought process and a plan and an action for the way forward. So
Awesome. And Caroline, do you have anything special coming up that you want to share?
I do, absolutely. I am starting up. It's a program called Aspiring Women of North Texas. It's for those of us up here in the Collin, Denton, Dallas, Tarrant County areas. And on this Saturday, we are having a wine and workshop for women, and it's going to be about using growth mindset to plan your next steps. I believe my email is on there. So if you have any questions, you can email me about it. It's this Saturday, October 22nd, up here in Aubrey. It's also available on Eventbrite if that is something you're interested in. So please go check it out.
Where's it going to be?
It's a winery up here in Aubrey.
Oh, that's cool.
Right? Yes.
That's cool.
Yes.
Lots of fun. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
And Steve, I want you to talk a little bit about what you're up to, what your specialty is, and what you've got planned.
First things first, Caroline, I think that's pretty sexist of you to have it so it's a women-only thing at a winery. So anyway, I'm just saying. So anyway, my sweet spot is working with those busy executives that are out of balance. And one of the biggest challenges that people have is they don't know how to move the bar just a little bit. And if you're well, I use the analogy that Zig Ziglar came up with many years ago, the wheel of life, and it's got 7 spokes. We have the mental spoke, spiritual, physical, family, career, financial, and your personal spokes. And if any of those spokes are not performing at their ultimate, then you're out of balance. And you know what it's like to be driving down the road and your wheels or tires are out of balance. Well, I help those executives get into balance, and I've got a very simple systematic process that we take people through an assessment, so to speak, that they fill out the assessment tool and we figure out where they are out of balance. And then we're going to start working on those things. We always start with mindset. And if your mindset isn't where it needs to be, we're going to help you move in that area. But again, my friend Tom Ziegler came up with the thought process. The fastest way to success is to replace bad habits with good habits. And when he said that, I mean, that just makes so much sense. So I help people make those bad habits into good habits. Replace the bad ones, put the good ones in place, but then we do it in a systematic way so that at the end of the program, then you're feeling more balanced in all of those different areas. We talk about purpose, we talk about your goals, your whys, all of those sorts of things. And then I talk a lot about the defensive mechanisms or you've probably seen the old TV show Wonder Woman and how she had those brass or gold bracelets, and when somebody was shooting the arrows at her or the bullets, whatever, she could just deflect them. Well, I've got some methods for helping people deflect all of those bad arrows so that they don't take you off track. So I don't have any specific programs going on right now. Everything I do is on the individual basis, but we're really laying the foundation now. We're just a couple of months away from the new year. Are you really getting things in line to start the new year out the right way instead of here we are January 15th? Well, I should probably put a plan together for this year. No, we got to start working on those plans right now. So let's get into balance on a consistent basis every single day. That's the plan.
I love it. We have all sorts
of and Steve, let me say, I hear that you think that my event is sexist, and let me just say I don't care.
Okay, Caroline, there's a phrase I teach all of my clients. I will consider your opinion.
Yes, yes. I
That's
won't even
it.
consider your opinion.
That's
I just
it.
don't care.
I don't accept it or I don't receive it, but I will consider it. Okay, that's gone. So
I don't even
anyway,
consider it.
yeah.
I think what it is he says it's sexist, but really what it is he's actually jealous because he wants to be there. That's really what it
I am
boils
jealous.
down to.
By
I am
all means,
jealous.
Steve, you're absolutely welcome and
No, no,
to
I
come and
would
join us
not want to
afterwards.
intrude. I would not intrude. There's no
You're
way.
welcome to join us afterwards, by all means.
Afterwards, yeah, fine.
Afterwards.
Yeah, I don't get any
Afterwards.
good
Love to have you.
information, just the wine. So
Yeah, yeah. I'd love to have you afterwards, by
uh,
all means.
I think that's a great idea. I got to figure out something like that that I could do something. That's a great idea. I'm gonna steal
It
your
really
idea.
is, you throw a bottle of wine and you got the girls there. I'm just saying.
Yeah, a friend of mine in Tennessee does a whiskey program once a month,
Mm.
and he's
Well,
in
I'm in.
Tennessee. He's in whiskey country. So and it's not, hey guys, let's get together and get drunk. No, it's just tasting different types of whiskeys. There are other guys that do cigar programs. Okay, well maybe I'll do something. I don't know. Maybe I'll do a glass of water program. So
Mhm.
since I'm not a drinker, so anyway.
Sign us up. There you go. I love it.
Oh mercy.
So bad. Yeah. So this has been really informative, I think, for a lot of people that are wondering what this whole executive coaching is all
Yeah.
about. I mean, it can be confusing the coaching, like you said, the coaching industry has really grown. Right. And there's so
Absolutely.
many options out there that people just never realized existed before. So I think it's nice that we take time to kind of break it down a little bit and let people know about what their options are. Right. We don't have to be stuck where we're at. Right. We've got high aspirations. Well, it's okay to get a little help from other people that can help get us where we want to be. So I just wanted to say thank you to both of you for coming on, being good sports. I throw you together. You had like 3 minutes to get to know each other before we
Yeah,
went on
that's fine.
screen. I love
That's
it.
fine.
Yeah.
And just thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us today.
Thank you so much. You are a wonderful diva, might I say.
Absolutely, no question there. And
Yes.
Carolyn, I got to tell you what you were doing, helping people, not just women, but helping people in that transition process. That's not my niche. I
Mhm.
can do it, but that's not my. Well, I'm sorry, that's not my niche. Okay,
Yes.
I'm I don't know who came up with that
I
niche
don't
thing. It's N-I anyway, so not
I blame
N-E.
the
Anyway,
French.
but I got you. But no, thank you for doing that, especially helping those people that are graduating from the military service.
know.
And again, thank you for your military service. I greatly appreciate it.
Well, thank you. Yes, I have my own opinions on the TAPS programs, and so this was definitely one when I realized what I could bring to the table. I wanted
Yeah,
to do this. So,
yeah,
and I think I hope my biggest hope is that for me, for my clients, for you, for your clients, people are able to get what they need and get where they want to and have
absolutely.
amazing success.
Yeah. So you got to find the right coach.
Yes,
Whoever you click with, whoever
yes.
you respect the most, you've got to find the right coach for you, somebody that's going to challenge you and push
Mhm.
you to become all that you can be. I tell people all the time, I want to help you have a more victorious life, whatever that definition is for you.
Yes,
Find a
absolutely.
coach.
Fantastic. Love it. All right. Thanks, y'all. Appreciate you being here.
Thanks,
And I'm sure
Christine.
you're both going to come back and play with us again sometime
Oh,
soon.
Oh,
absolutely.
So
I'd love it.
Anytime.
I'd
we're
love it.
looking
Absolutely.
forward to it. All
I'd
right.
love
All
it.
Thanks,
right.
y'all. Say goodbye,
Ladies,
All right.
Internet.
bye, y'all.
Bye.